What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Stochastic channel. Today, we're talking college football DFS ahead of the historic Army and Navy game showdown slate. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you by Prize Picks. They have a first match deposit bonus up to $100 for new users, and they're giving you a free month of Odd Shopper. Man, just an unbelievable deal to get that for free. All sorts of sports betting tools, sides, totals. There's expert analysis. We have a market-based approach that gives you plus EV lines where sports books might be hanging still lines or just incorrect. Make sure you check that out. It's a phenomenal offer. Link is in the video description below. Must be 21 or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's bring you behind the glass. Fun game. First and foremost, this is an injury game. If you're not around for late news, I would consider maybe staying out of this showdown slate. This is a midday game on Saturday, so hopefully you guys are around. Army is an excellent beat reporter, and Navy's their official site tweets out inactives. So we don't have the news right now, but we should have pretty good idea come kickoff who's in, who's out. So as long as you're around or you have your Twitter notifications on, you should be good. 2.5 point spread in favor of Army, 27.5 total. Both these teams run the triple option, so they're in bottom 5 in pace, both of them. And they both have about 25% pass rates. Navy's a little higher at 27%. Starting with Army, I think maybe the most secure captain on the entire board is Bryson Daly. Neither of these quarterbacks pass much, so I won't get into that too much. Daly averages 10.5 yards, pass attempts per game. His efficiency is okay, about 86 yards per game. On the ground is where he separates himself. Last 3 games, carry counts of 33, 21, 25. This guy just a monster in the triple option. Makes a lot of sense to be playing him here. Navy also has the inferior run defense on this slate. Despite what yards per carry will tell you, you can look at efficiency stats. Army's actually a little stronger on the ground than Navy. Otherwise, 2 big injuries to watch. Kanye Udo, Hayden Reed. Udo's missed 1 game. It was their most recent contest. Army hasn't played since week 12. They had a bye in week 13 and obviously didn't play in conference championship week. Hayden Reed hasn't played in 3 straight games. So I think Udo is more likely to play, but I don't know this for sure. And otherwise, they use a pretty nasty rotation at running back anyway. Tentatively, I would expect Udo to lead the backfield. My second favorite play is Tyrell Robinson, who has back-to-back 6-carry games. Third is going to be Jacoby Buchanan, who's more of a fullback. He had 12 carries in their last game. Fourth is Awan Marshall. He had 6 carries. Tyson Riley in their most recent game did have 12, but he's been playing more wide receiver this year. So I don't think that was by choice. I think it was more out of necessity where they used Tyson Riley in the backfield. Prior to that, it basically just been some targets, and he hadn't been playing a lot. So again, to recap this, I don't think Hayden Reed plays. I do think Kanye Udo plays. But number 1 for me would be Udo. Number 2 would be Hayden Reed. If 1 or 2 of them are out, I would go to 3, Tyrell Robinson, 4, Jacoby Buchanan, 5, Awan Marshall, 6, Tyson Riley in the backfield. Receiver is a little more live this year than previous years for the armed forces, just because, man, they're throwing a little bit more. Like 25% is a huge increase compared to previous years. Isaiah Alston's projected to miss this game. So then at the receiver position, it's kind of difficult to actually decipher who's going to get the ball for these teams. The routes are somewhat volatile week in, week out. But I think right away, Noah Short is a player that does stand out for this Army team. You should be getting a pretty good route rate with him. We have him as the highest route rate player on the board. Number 2 is Casey Reynolds for us. And I think this makes sense. Again, you're not really looking at a lot of targets for these players. 3 for routes is Awan Marshall, which I think does give him a little bit of an extra boost in the run game too. I was ranking the running backs earlier. When you include the running backs with the pass catchers, Marshall does come up a little higher. He's the only player that's been targeted in each of the last 4 games. He has 18 targets on the year, so we're still talking about 1.8 targets per game, but it's very thin margins for all these Army players. And then beyond that, we do have Toby Olawale at wide receiver with a 50% route share, Parker Pulaski and Josh Leigenfelter at 45% of the routes apiece. So to kind of sum up Army as a whole, I kind of want to just do these team by team. The number one play by far, even price adjusted, is going to be Bryson Daly. Number 2 is Kanye Udo, assuming he plays. 3, when we start factoring in price, I would rather get to A1 Marshall over Jacoby Buchanan, but just raw projection, Buchanan should be a little bit ahead of him. We'll see if that changes. I'm not sure. But A1 Marshall comes on a price. 3,200 is just way too cheap for a guy that's pretty involved in the run game and the pass game. Then from there, I think you can start sprinkling the Buchanans, the Tyrell Robinsons, the Tyson Rileys. Tyrell Robinson, again, a pretty good play. When I just did the rankings now, the reason he wasn't higher is that price tag. 7,400 is pretty expensive. On the Navy side, they're expected to get back really all their quarterbacks, but Xavier Arline, I'm anticipating starting. I think there's a chance that Ty Lavatai plays some. He was available in case of emergency last game, didn't play. And then Braxton Woodson, he's also available. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they split some. Watch who starts. I'm not confident in Arline, but I think it's going to be him, and I think he'll play most of the game. He's had a couple like monster carry games prior to the ankle injury he sustained in their last contest. That's why you see this 3 carry game here. But he's first on the depth chart. Everyone's expecting him to play. Prior to that, he had 14, 19, and 26 carries. So just shy of like the Bryson Daly workload, but still pretty good. So I'll play some R-line. No issues with him, but I would be worried about Lavatai and Woodson. In some of those games where you saw monster carry counts, Lavatai and Woodson were out. Backfield, this is a little tricky. They got blown out last game by SMU, so they involved a ton of players that don't normally play. Alex Texa, he's typically their lead back, 12.3 touches per game. His price is pretty nice here. I would rather play the quarterbacks, just finding my way up to them. And then I think the second most active ball carrier is going to be Brandon Chapman. He's similar to like A1 Marshall, where he gets a lot of work in the pass game. He actually hasn't carried the ball in 2 straight weeks, but in their most recent contest, he had 5 targets. So I think you're looking at like 5 to 10 touches no matter what with Chapman. You're just not sure if they're going to come on the ground or through the air. The only problem between him and Marshall is on the other side for Army is that Chapman's 8,200. So you get a similar role, maybe a little better, but is it worth like $5K in salary? I'm not entirely sure. Otherwise, Daba Fofana playing a much reduced role compared to last year. He's kind of the star of this game. A year ago, only 6.9 touches per game. He's a little expensive for my liking. Again, I'd rather punt with some of the Army guys like Jacoby Buchanan, A1 Marshall, even probably going up to Tyrell Robinson over Daba Fofana. He'll just be a sprinkling in lineups. Another player to mention is Eli Heidenrich. He's been really efficient for this team. Just a sporadic role, 5 carries, 2 carries, 7 carries. So you're paying a lot of money for a guy, honestly, who has like essentially the same role as Daba Fofana, but he's been really good. So I imagine that probably moves in Heidenrich's favor at some point. Otherwise, Amin Hassan is active too. He plays like a receiver running back hybrid role. You're probably looking at 1 to 2 touches, but he's only 1.2K. So he'll probably find his way into lineups as a pure salary saver. Otherwise, at receiver, man, like this Navy team is so banged up. Here's a few of the players we're not sure are going to play. Regis Velas, Jaden Umbarger, Kamari Williams, Nathan Kent, Colin O'Connor, Croy Myers. So right now, without knowing anything, we projected them all in. The only thing I think we can confidently say is Jalen Umbarger is their number 1 receiver when everybody's fully healthy. That's based on routes. As you can see, the 3 players ahead of him are running backs and targets. This team targets the RB position a ton over wide receivers. So like first and foremost, I have a lot more interest in the Army receivers compared to the Navy ones, especially considering we have a pretty nasty split. From there, I think you can look to Nathan Kent and Kamari Williams, assuming health. 4th and 5th would be Regis Velas and Colin O'Connor, assuming health. Cody Howard would be 5th. I think he really needs some injuries in order to jump up this list. But with Navy, ideally, you'd have more interest in these guys if some players are ruled out. Again, you're just going to have to wait till pregame warmups to see who is in, who is out for this team. And depending on how many of them are in, maybe if it's fewer, I'll have more interest. If it's not, I'll have less. But very interesting slate. I would say watch projections closely. It's going to be a tough one to evaluate. It's going to come right down to the wire when we get inactives. But thank you for watching. If you have a question, feel free to hit me up. I'll tweet out any inactives I see on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Otherwise, good luck. Enjoy the game. We'll see you next time.